Welcome to English Flow Podcast, where you learn to think in English, speak with confidence, and grow every day. In this episode, you will discover your English level from beginner to expert simply by listening and noticing what feels easy and what feels challenging. You don't need a test or a teacher. You only need your ears, a little focus, and a willingness to reflect as you listen. We will play 6 short stories, one for each levels A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. If one story feels easy and the next one feels difficult, that is exactly what we want. That contrast shows your level. Pay attention to vocabulary, sentence length, how ideas connect, and how naturally the speaker expresses feelings and opinions. Take a comfortable breath now. Relax your shoulders. Let your listening be calm and patient. We begin with A1, the beginner level. A1, beginner. In this level, English is simple and clear. Sentences are short. Words are common and easy. If you can understand this story easily, you are at least A1. Listen with gentle focus. My name is Anna. I am 26 years old. I live with my parents. We have a small dog. His name is Max. I like my dog very much. We live in a small house. The house has 3 rooms: a living room, a kitchen, and a bedroom. Our house is clean and quiet. There is a park near the house. I go to the park every evening. I walk with my dog. He runs and plays with other dogs. I sit on a bench and watch him. The park is green and beautiful. Every morning I wake up at 7 o'clock. I get up. I eat breakfast in the kitchen. I drink tea. After breakfast, I brush my teeth. Then I go to work. I work in a small shop. It is near my home. I walk to work. It takes 10 minutes. In the shop, I sell food and drinks. I help customers. I take money and give change. My boss is kind. My work is easy. At 12 o'clock I eat lunch. I eat rice or a sandwich. Sometimes I drink coffee. At 5 o'clock I finish work. I go home. I am tired but happy. I cook dinner for my parents. We eat together. We talk and laugh. After dinner, I wash the dishes. In the evening, I watch TV. Sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I read a small book. At 10 o'clock, I go to bed. I am sleepy. My dog sleeps next to me. Before I sleep, I think about my day. I feel good. My life is simple, but I am happy every day. Pause and notice. Did you understand most words? Could you follow the sequence of events easily? If yes, well done. You likely have A1 comprehension. Now take a soft breath. Let the last sentences settle in your mind. We move now to A2. Elementary. English becomes a little richer and more connected. Sentences are longer, and you will hear more about routines, plans, and daily activities. If this story feels comfortable without much effort, you are at least A2. My name is Mark. I live in a small apartment near the city. It is not big, but it is comfortable for me. There is a small kitchen, a bedroom, and a living room. From my window I can see a park and some tall trees. In the morning I often hear birds singing. I work in an office not far from home. I usually walk to work because it only takes 10 minutes. When the weather is bad, I take the bus. I start work at 8:30 and finish at 5. At the office, I answer phone calls, send emails, and help my manager with small jobs. My colleagues are friendly. We often talk during our lunch break. At lunchtime, I go to a small cafe with two co-workers. We sit near the window and talk about our families and our weekend plans. Sometimes we laugh a lot because one of my co-workers tells funny stories. After work, I do not go home right away. I usually go to the gym for 1 hour. I do some exercise and listen to music on my phone. When I finish, I feel tired but good. Exercise helps me relax after a long day. At around 7 o'clock I go home. Before dinner I take a shower and change my clothes. Then, I cook something simple. Sometimes I eat while watching my favorite TV show. On weekends my routine is different. I meet my friends in the city center. We go for coffee, walk around, and sometimes watch a movie. If the weather is nice, we sit in the park and talk for hours. We enjoy simple conversations and small experiences. Pause here. Think where the sentence is easy to follow. Could you understand the activities and the feelings? If A2 was clear, you can understand short connected sentences about work, daily life, and free time. Take a moment to breathe. Now get ready for B1, Intermediate. At this level, stories include more detail, reasons, and personal goals. If you can follow the whole story and understand the main message, you are around B1 or higher. Listen for descriptions and intentions. My name is Liam, and I work as a computer technician. I fix laptops, install new programs, and help people when their devices do not work. I have done this job for almost 6 years now, and I still enjoy it. I like my job because it is a mix of logic and creativity. Every problem is different, and finding the right solution feels like solving a puzzle. I start work at 8 in the morning. When I arrive, I make a cup of coffee and check the list of repairs for the day. Sometimes the problems are small, a keyboard that does not work or a slow system. But sometimes they are bigger, and I have to spend hours testing every part of a computer. It can be frustrating. But when I finally fix something, I feel proud and satisfied. My colleagues are friendly. We often help each other when someone has a difficult case. I think teamwork is one of the most important parts of any job. You can learn a lot from people who think differently from you. After work, I like to clean my head. I do not go home right away. Instead, I walk to the park near my office. I listen to music or just enjoy the quiet. When I get home, I cook dinner and watch something online, usually a documentary or a short film in English. In the evenings, I study online. I take a course about new computer systems because I want to open my own business in the future. It is a lot of work, but I believe it is worth it. I want to be independent and help people in my own way. On weekends, I usually relax. Sometimes I meet friends or I go hiking in the countryside. Pause. Consider how natural the language felt. Did you understand reasons and plans? Could you follow Liam's goals and feelings? If yes, you are likely B1. Take a slow breath and allow the ideas to rest. Next is B2, upper, intermediate. Here you can understand longer stories and more detailed ideas. The speaker is fluent, and you will hear natural expressions, comparisons, and reflections about life and work. Listen for nuance, small emotions, and changes of tone. My name is Nina, and I'm a freelance graphic designer. For several years, I worked in a big company creating logos and advertisements for clients. The job was safe. The people were kind. The salary was good. But after a while, I began to feel bored and stuck. Every day looked exactly the same office, the same projects, the same conversations. I started to realize that even though everything looked fine from the outside, something important was missing. I wasn't growing. I wanted more freedom, more creativity, and more control over my time. So, 2 years ago, I made one of the biggest decisions of my life. I left my job and decided to work for myself. I remember my last day in the office very clearly. People brought me flowers and said kind things, but inside I was both excited and terrified. I had no plan, no clients, and no idea how to start. But I knew that if I didn't try, I would always wonder what could have happened. At first, life as a freelancer was really hard. I woke up early every morning, opened my laptop, and tried to find work online. I sent messages to small businesses, emailed old contacts, and made a portfolio website to show my designs. Some days, nobody replied. Other days, a client would ask me for a project, but offer to pay very little money. It was difficult to stay motivated. There were days when I worked 10 hours and earned almost nothing. I cried a few times and thought about going back to my old job. But deep down I knew I had to give it time. I told myself that every small step, every email, every design, every new skill would lead somewhere. I started learning again. I watched free courses online, joined webinars about design, and read articles about marketing and freelancing. I realized that being a freelancer is not only about talent. It is also about communication and organization. You have to learn how to explain your ideas clearly, how to manage your time, and how to deal with different types of clients. Little by little, things began to change. My designs got better. My confidence grew, and new clients started to contact me. Some of them came from recommendations. People who liked my work told their friends about me. That was the moment I knew I was moving in the right direction. Now my life looks very different. I usually start my mornings around 8. I make coffee, check my emails, and write a list of things I need to do. My living room is also my office. It is small but comfortable. There is a big window with lots of light, and I've decorated it with plants and art prints. When I have a busy day, I can spend hours in front of the screen, completely focused. But I always try to take short breaks every couple of hours. I stretch, drink tea, or water my plants. Sometimes I step outside for 10 minutes just to breathe some fresh air. When the weather is nice, I bring my laptop to a cafe nearby and work from there for a few hours. Hearing the sound of people talking and cups clinking helps me feel less alone. The best part of being a freelancer is the freedom it gives me. I can choose which projects I want to do and how I want to do them. If I want to take a few days off, I can. If I want to work late at night, nobody stops me. This flexibility is something I never had before, and it makes a huge difference in how I feel about my work. I can plan my schedule around my energy, not just around office hours. That is a kind of freedom I really value. But of course, it is not always easy. There are challenges that people do not see. Working alone means there is no one to give you feedback or to tell you you are doing a good job. Sometimes I miss having colleagues to laugh with or someone to ask for quick advice. And the money is not always stable. 1 month can be amazing, full of projects and good payments, and the next can be very quiet. That is stressful, especially when you have bills to pay. But I have learned to plan ahead. When I earn more, I save part of it for slower months. Freelancing has taught me to be responsible and to think long-term. I have also learned how to manage clients and how not to take things personally. In the beginning, I felt bad when someone did not like my design. Now I understand that every person sees things differently. Good communication is everything. If you listen carefully and ask the right questions, you can usually find a way to make everyone happy. Another big lesson is about believing in yourself. When you work alone, no one is there to motivate you. You have to build that energy from inside. I remind myself that every project, big or small, is a chance to learn and improve. If something goes wrong, I try to see it as part of the process, not as a failure. In the evenings, I like to disconnect from work completely. I close my laptop, put away my phone, and do something that helps me relax. Sometimes I go for a run. Sometimes I meet friends for dinner. And sometimes I just listen to calm music while I cook. I also like drawing. Not for clients, but for myself. When I draw for fun, I feel like a child again. There is no pressure, no deadlines, no one watching. It reminds me why I became a designer in the first place. Because I love creating things from nothing. When I finish a small drawing that I actually like, I feel free. That simple joy is exactly what I was looking for when I decided to leave my old job. Pause and reflect for a moment. Notice the richer vocabulary, the longer sentences, and the emotional detail. If this story felt natural to you, you are likely B2 or higher. Take a gentle breath now. We continue to C1, advanced. At this level, English becomes more natural, expressive, and reflective. You will hear longer sentences, subtle argument, and careful word choice. The speaker connects complex ideas and shares deeper lessons. Listen for tone, rhythm, and the way ideas build one on another. My name is David and I work as a project manager for a technology company. I have been in this field for nearly 10 years, and during that time I have realized something interesting. Managing people is often more complex than managing projects. Projects have timelines, budgets, and measurable results. People, on the other hand, have emotions, ideas, and completely different ways of seeing the same situation. Balancing both is what makes my job so fascinating and sometimes so challenging. A typical day for me starts early. I like to arrive before everyone else, while the office is still quiet. That first hour sets the tone for the rest of the day. I make a coffee, open my laptop, and check the list of ongoing projects. I read messages from clients, go through updates from the team, and try to predict where potential problems might appear. That is my time to think, plan, and prepare before the energy of the day begins. When the team arrives, the office atmosphere changes. There is movement, conversation, and a sense of purpose. Every project is different. Sometimes we are developing a new app. Other times we are improving an existing system. Each task requires coordination between developers, designers, and clients. My role is not to do the technical work myself. It is to make sure everyone has what they need to do their best. I connect people, remove obstacles, and keep everyone aligned. In a way, my job is like being a bridge, linking different parts of the process so that communication flows smoothly. When someone on the team feels lost or stressed, my instinct is to listen first, not to give orders. It took me years to learn that leadership does not mean having all the answers. It means creating an environment where people feel safe to ask questions and share ideas. Most problems at work do not come from a lack of skill. They come from a lack of understanding or poor communication. If you can help people feel heard, they usually find their own solutions. I have also learned that good leadership is not about control. It is about trust. When your team trusts you, they will tell you the truth. They will admit mistakes, share feedback, and take responsibility. But trust does not appear overnight. It is something you build slowly through consistency, fairness, and respect. You cannot just demand it. You have to earn it. In my team, I try to be transparent about decisions. If something goes wrong, we talk about it openly. I would rather have uncomfortable honesty than quiet frustration. People respect clarity even when it is not easy to hear. When the team understands the why behind a decision, they accept it more easily, even if they do not fully agree. And when things go well, I always try to celebrate it, even in small ways. A message of appreciation, a quick team lunch, or a few words of recognition. These cost nothing, but they matter. Of course, things do not always go perfectly. Sometimes deadlines move, clients change their minds, or unexpected technical problems appear. In those moments, my job is to keep everyone calm and focused. If I panic, the team will panic too. So I try to stay grounded and remind everyone that mistakes are part of the process, not signs of failure. We talk about what happened, fix it together, and move on. Blaming people does not help. Learning does. It is about turning setbacks into lessons. One project I will never forget was a big software launch 2 years ago. Everything was ready, or so we thought. 2 days before the release, the system crashed during testing. The entire team stayed late trying to find the issue. Everyone was tired and frustrated. Instead of pushing harder, I asked everyone to take a short break. We ordered food, stepped outside, and talked, not about work but about anything else. An hour later, one developer suddenly realized where the bug was. It took just 10 minutes to fix. That moment taught me something valuable. Sometimes progress happens when you stop forcing it. Pressure can blind you. Perspective brings clarity. I often think about how much my job has taught me about life in general. In work and in life, everything comes down to communication. When we speak clearly and listen carefully, problems become smaller. When we ignore, assume, or rush, small issues grow into big ones. That is why I try to stay honest and calm, even under pressure. I have learned that tone can be more powerful than words. A kind voice can solve what 100 emails cannot. Another lesson I have learned is about resilience, the ability to recover after things go wrong. Projects fail, clients leave, budgets change. But if you keep your mindset steady, you can always rebuild. I tell my team that resilience is like a muscle. It grows each time you use it. When something does not work, we do not see it as wasted time. We see it as training for the next challenge. After long days filled with meetings, screens, and deadlines, I crave silence. That is why I enjoy quiet activities like walking, reading, or cooking. Cooking for me is almost meditative. It is one of the few things where I can focus on one simple task: chopping vegetables, mixing flavors, waiting for something to simmer. It is a small reminder that not everything has to move fast to be meaningful. I also love reading, especially biographies and psychology books. They help me understand people better, which in turn makes me a better manager. Sometimes I see my own behavior reflected in those stories, and it pushes me to grow. Learning, I have realized, does not stop when you leave school. It continues quietly every day through the people you meet and the situations you face. Pause and reflect. Did you follow the argument and the reflection? If so, your understanding is at C1 level. You can follow subtle shifts in meaning and appreciate the emotional tone. Now prepare for C2, the expert level. At this stage, language sounds effortless, elegant, and emotional. You will hear subtle ideas, rare words, and gentle rhythm. Listen for mood, tempo, and deep reflection. My name is Elena. Over the years, I have realized that the hardest part of life is not making decisions. It is understanding what they mean. When we are young, we imagine that every choice is a doorway to something better. A better job, a better city, a better version of ourselves. We walk through those doors one after another, rarely stopping to notice what we leave behind. But eventually, you look back and see that every decision carries both gain and loss. Something found, something left. For a long time, I chased progress without direction. I changed jobs, changed cities, changed dreams, always telling myself I was moving forward. But sometimes I was not moving toward anything. I was just running away from stillness. There is a strange fear in stillness, as if silence might reveal what we have tried to hide from ourselves. It took me years to understand that silence is not empty. It is full of resonance, quiet truths that only emerge when the noise finally fades. These days, I live differently. My mornings are slow. I make coffee, open the window, and let the light spill across the floor. That small moment, gentle and ephemeral, feels like the most honest part of my day. I do not rush to check messages or plans. I just sit there and listen to the hum of the world, to my own thoughts, to whatever speaks in the space between things. I used to think meaning came from action. Now I know it grows out of reflection. I still work. I am a consultant. But my relationship with work has changed. What once felt like pressure now feels like practice. Yes, it is technical and logical, but I try to find the human part inside all that structure. Real progress, I think, is not when systems become faster. It is when people inside them begin to feel understood. You can redesign a whole organization, but if you do not transform the metamorphosis within its people, how they see themselves, how they connect, then nothing truly changes. Outside of work, I write, not for an audience, but for awareness. Writing is a mirror that does not flatter. It tells the truth. It shows me where my thoughts begin and where they resist ending. Some days I write about the past, not to live there, but to learn. Other days I write about the future, not to predict, but to make peace with not knowing. Sometimes words bring a sense of ineffable clarity, a feeling that cannot be captured but can still be felt. Lately, I have been thinking about time, not as something that passes, but as something we move through. Some moments feel wide and endless. Others disappear before we even notice. I have realized that the quality of time depends less on what we do and more on how awake we are while we do it. A single moment of presence can last longer than an entire day spent rushing. I used to think growth meant collecting things. Achievements, recognition, experience. Now I see it differently. Growth to me is subtraction, the art of letting go. It is choosing what to release so that what matters has room to remain. We live in a world that worships addition, more goals, more motion, more noise. But true wisdom lies in knowing when to stop, when to rest, when to say, "This is enough." Maybe that is what freedom really is, not doing whatever we want, but knowing we do not need to. Freedom becomes the quiet equanimity that comes when you no longer measure life by how much you can hold, but by how much you can appreciate. The older I get, the more I see that peace is not something waiting at the end of the road. It walks beside us in the rhythm of our steps, in the warmth of early sunlight, in the silent certainty that life is happening right now and that right now is already enough. Pause. Breathe. If you understood this story easily, congratulations. Your English is near native level. You can follow complex arguments and emotional expression with ease. But remember, fluency is not an ending. Even at C2, there is always something new to explore, new stories to hear, and new ways to express who you are. And that brings us to the end of today's journey from A1 to C2. You have listened, reflected, and tested your understanding through 6 different levels of English. Maybe you found one level easy and another a little challenging. That is completely normal. Language learning is not a straight line. It is a process of growth and small steps. Before we close, take a moment to reflect on which story felt right for you. Which one was comfortable? And which one was just a bit difficult? That contrast helps you find your level. You can use this experience as a daily check. Listen again next week and notice improvement. Thank you so much for listening to English Flow Podcast. Keep going, keep learning, and remember, fluency is not a finish line. It is a way of life. Keep practicing, stay curious, and be kind to yourself on this journey. Until next time, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep flowing in English.